It is important to note that there is no definitive list of foods that can prevent or cure early dementia. Maintaining a healthy and balanced diet is important for overall brain health. However, some research suggests that the following foods may be beneficial to avoid or limit for those at risk for dementia. In this video, we will see some of the common foods which we consume daily could have a potential long-term impact on brain function. Firstly, sugary and processed foods. High intake of sugar and processed foods has been linked to cognitive decline and increased risk of dementia. There is evidence to suggest that high consumption of sugary and processed foods may be associated with an increased risk of dementia. Sugary and processed foods are often high in refined carbohydrates, which can lead to elevated blood sugar levels and inflammation in the body. Chronic inflammation has been linked to cognitive decline and an increased risk of dementia. One study published in the journal Alzheimer's and Dementia found that individuals who consumed a diet high in processed foods and sugary drinks had a higher risk of developing Alzheimer's disease compared to those who followed a healthy diet. To reduce the risk of dementia, it is generally recommended to limit the consumption of sugary and processed foods and instead choose a diet rich in whole, nutrient-dense foods such as fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and healthy fats. Additionally, staying physically active and maintaining a healthy weight can also help to reduce the risk of cognitive decline and dementia. 2. Trans fats. Trans fats, found in many processed and fried foods, have been associated with inflammation and cognitive decline. There is evidence to suggest that consumption of trans fats may be associated with an increased risk of dementia. Trans fats are a type of unsaturated fat that is commonly found in partially hydrogenated oils, which are used in many processed foods such as baked goods, fried foods, and snack foods. Trans fats have been linked to inflammation and oxidative stress, which are thought to contribute to cognitive decline and an increased risk of dementia. In 2015, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, declared that partially hydrogenated oils are no longer generally recognized as safe for use in food, and the use of trans fats in food products has significantly decreased since then. However, it is still important to read food labels and avoid foods that contain partially hydrogenated oils. To reduce the risk of dementia, it is generally recommended to limit consumption of trans fats and choose healthy fats such as those found in fish, nuts, seeds, and olive oil instead. Next one is red meat. Some studies suggest that a diet high in red meat may increase the risk of cognitive decline and dementia. Red meat is high in saturated fat and cholesterol, which have been linked to inflammation and cognitive decline. Additionally, processed red meat often contains nitrates and nitrites, which have been associated with oxidative stress and damage to the brain. One study published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease found that individuals who consumed high amounts of red meat had a greater risk of developing Alzheimer's disease compared to those who consumed less red meat. A healthy, balanced diet that includes a variety of nutrient-dense foods is important for overall brain health and reducing the risk of cognitive decline and dementia. Number 4. Fried foods. Consuming fried foods regularly has been linked to an increased risk of cognitive decline and dementia. Fried foods are often high in unhealthy fats, calories, and sodium, which can contribute to inflammation and oxidative stress in the brain. Additionally, a diet rich in whole, nutrient-dense foods such as fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and healthy fats may help to reduce the risk of cognitive decline and dementia. Number 6. Alcohol. Heavy alcohol consumption has been linked to an increased risk of cognitive decline and dementia. Excessive alcohol consumption has been associated with an increased risk of dementia, while moderate alcohol consumption may have some protective effects on the brain. Additionally, excessive alcohol intake can lead to nutritional deficiencies, which can further exacerbate cognitive decline. One study published in the journal JAMA Psychiatry found that individuals who consumed more than 14 drinks per week had a greater risk of developing dementia compared to those who consumed less alcohol. However, some studies have suggested that moderate alcohol consumption may have some protective effects on the brain. Another study published in the journal Alzheimer's and Dementia found that moderate alcohol consumption may reduce the risk of dementia in individuals with a genetic predisposition to Alzheimer's disease. While moderate alcohol consumption may have some benefits, it is important to note that excessive alcohol intake can be detrimental to brain health and increase the risk of dementia. The definition of moderate alcohol consumption varies by country and organization, but generally, it is defined as up to 1 drink per day for women and up to 2 drinks per day for men. High-fat dairy products. There is some evidence to suggest that a diet high in saturated fat, which is found in high-fat dairy products such as whole milk, cheese, and butter, may be associated with an increased risk of cognitive decline and dementia. One study published in the journal JAMA Neurology found that individuals who consumed a diet high in saturated fat had worse cognitive function compared to those who consumed a diet low in saturated fat. Another study published in the journal Neurology found that a high intake of saturated fat was associated with an increased risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. While more research is needed to fully understand the link between high-fat dairy products and dementia, it is generally recommended to limit consumption of saturated fat and choose low-fat or non-fat dairy products instead. A diet rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and healthy fats may help to reduce the risk of cognitive decline and dementia. Additionally, it is important to maintain a healthy body weight and engage in regular physical activity to reduce the risk of cognitive decline and dementia. Number 7. Salt. High salt intake has been associated with an increased risk of cognitive decline and dementia. There is some evidence to suggest that a high salt diet may be associated with an increased risk of cognitive decline and dementia. Excess salt intake can lead to high blood pressure, which has been linked to an increased risk of cognitive impairment and dementia. Another study published in the journal Nature Reviews Neurology found that high salt intake may contribute to cognitive decline and dementia by damaging the blood vessels in the brain and increasing inflammation. The American Heart Association recommends limiting daily salt intake to no more than 2,300 milligrams per day, and ideally no more than 1,500 milligrams per day for most adults. Number 8. White bread and refined grains. Consuming large amounts of white bread and refined grains has been linked to an increased risk of cognitive decline and dementia. Refined grains are often low in fiber and other nutrients, which may contribute to inflammation and oxidative stress in the brain. On the other hand, whole grains are rich in fiber, vitamins, and minerals, and may have protective effects on the brain. Whole grains include foods such as brown rice, quinoa, whole grain bread, and oatmeal. 9. Caffeine. While moderate caffeine intake is generally considered safe, excessive caffeine intake may increase the risk of cognitive decline and dementia in some individuals. Caffeine is a stimulant that is commonly found in coffee, tea, chocolate, and some medications. Some studies have suggested that moderate caffeine intake may have a protective effect against cognitive decline and dementia. However, other studies have found that high caffeine intake may be associated with an increased risk of cognitive impairment and dementia. It is important to note that the optimal amount of caffeine intake for brain health may vary depending on individual factors such as age, genetics, and overall health status. Additionally, consuming caffeine in the form of sugary or high-fat beverages may have negative effects on overall health, which may indirectly affect cognitive function. Overall, it is recommended to consume caffeine in moderation and choose healthy sources of caffeine such as coffee, tea, or dark chocolate. Processed meat. There is evidence to suggest that high consumption of processed meat, such as sausage, bacon, and hot dogs, may be associated with an increased risk of dementia. Processed meat is often high in saturated and trans fats, which have been linked to inflammation and cognitive decline. Additionally, processed meat may contain nitrites and nitrates, which are used as preservatives and have been associated with oxidative stress and damage to the brain. Thanks for watching JN Media. Stay healthy. Stay tuned.